What is going on, Demon Slayers, and welcome to another Diablo 4 video, guys. Today we're going to be diving in and taking a look at one of the new features coming into Diablo 4, and that is each of the 5 different characters having a specific unique ability to them that no other character will have. Today we're going to be taking a look at all of them and also be talking about one character that instead of just getting one, he actually gets two. So with that being said, let's take a look at everybody's favorite character, the Barbarian, and check out what his unique ability is. The Barbarian has unparalleled strength, expert at wielding an entire arsenal in battle, and has a weapon for each occasion. He belows intimidating war cries and unleashes ground-shaking slams that send approaching hordes reeling. And with that being said, guys, let's talk about his unique ability called Arsenal. Now, this particular unique ability is going to make the dynamic of playing a Barbarian totally different and allowing us to have multiple builds for the Barbarian. So what exactly does the Arsenal system do? This will allow the Barbarian to equip up to 4 weapons at once. So you can have 2 one-handed weapons, you can have 1 two-handed slashing weapon, and you can have 1 two-handed bludgeoning weapon, which makes it really cool. Now, the thing that makes this even more amazing is that, thankfully for us, guys, Blizzard has built out the UI and control features to make switching between weapons seamlessly, even automatically switching to certain weapons when a particular skills are used. This is extremely important because if you guys have ever played a Barbarian, you know that some particular skills are tied to specific weapons. So for example, you have a skill that requires a two-handed weapon, the game will automatically switch over to that two-handed weapon and perform that skill. In addition to that, if there's a specific skill that requires only a one-handed weapon, the game will automatically switch to that particular weapon to perform that skill. Now imagine all the cool and amazing combos we're able to do with this ability, and giving us the possibility of having 4 different types of weapons, guys, makes the entire game crazy. Because imagine if these weapons were legendary, and if you think about the special abilities those legendary weapons will have, imagine the amazing combos we'll be able to put together as playing as a Barbarian. Of course, we will have a more in-depth guide on the Barbarian, but if you want to make sure you smash foes and smash them to the ground, make sure you guys smash the subscribe button so you guys can join the GF squad. Now, with that being said, guys, let's take a look and dive in deeper into the Necromancer. As a priest of the Rathma, known by the outsiders as the Necromancer, the word death invokes a sensation of power, even excitement when it graces their ears. This legendary summoner bends bones, bloods, and darkness to their wills, subjugating the ranks of the undead to carry out their bidding. Yes, guys, the Necromancer is pretty crazy, but their unique ability is called the Book of the Dead. There's a very unique mechanic that no other character will have. So what exactly does the Book of the Dead actually consist of? The Book of the Dead will allow the player to customize their army of undead minions. It's going to give you a selection of 3 different types of minions a Necromancer could summon. You have the selection of selecting a skeletal warrior, you have the selection of selecting a skeletal mage, or you could go ahead and select golems. Now on top of that, guys, each individual minion will have its own specialization. Let's give you guys a couple of examples of what we mean. So let's say you guys go ahead and select the skeleton warrior. Now the skeleton warrior will have its own specialization skills that the skeleton mage won't have, or the golem. So if we take a look at the specializations for the skeleton warrior, you're gonna notice that on top of that, he's going to be given the ability of picking what type of skeleton warriors he wants. Does he want skirmisher warriors, defender warriors, or reaper warriors? Now, each of these come with different attributes. For example, the skirmisher will deal higher damage but has lower health. The defender is able to defend more due to a durable shield, and he will also gain 15% increase in life. Now the Reaper, it's another one that you could pick, but he's the slowest of the bunch, but he has a very powerful attack and does a lot of AoE damage. Now let's see what actually could happen if you decide to pick a skeleton mage. Now a skeleton mage gives you the following specializations. It gives you the ability to cast shadows, to cast gold, or to cast bone. Now for shadows, we don't have any information on what exactly it does, but we do know what exactly cold does. Basically, it does chills and freezes the enemy on sight. In addition to that, bone uses its own bones as projectiles, dealing heavy damage for a life cost. Now we do know the upgrades of this, but we'll have a separate video going over that because we also need to talk about golems. Now golems also have 3 different specialties. They have bone, blood, and iron. Bone taunts enemies in a wide area. Blood drains life from a nearby enemy and converts it to life. And iron slams the ground and stuns the enemy in sight. Now, of course, we will have a more in-depth guys going over the Necromancer, but with that being said, guys, let's dive into the next character, the Sorceress. Harnessing potent elemental powers, the sorceress is brimming with your favorite flavor of magic. Fragile but destructive, this high risk, high reward hero weaves between cold, fire, and lightning. Yes, guys, the sorceress is back, and this time she comes with a new ability called the enchantment system. Now, what the enchantment system allows you to do, guys, it actually gives you a set of 3 different slots within your active skills. So for the sorcerer, you're going to have a total of 2 different types of slots. You're going to have your active slots, where you put every skill that you unlock within that active slot, and you'll be able to trigger this with your keyboard, with your mouse, or your controller. And in addition to that, with this new system, it gives you an additional 3 different slots called enchantment slots. Now what happens is, if you have a skill within your active slots, of the 6 active slots that you have available, you can actually take that skill and put it into the enchantment slot. What that's going to do, it's going to remove that skill from being used within the active slot and putting it in the enhancement slot, and it's actually going to give it a passive buff that will be triggering as you progress through the game. So you won't be triggering it, it's just going to be automatically triggering for you. So from an overall perspective, this actually gives the sorcerer a total of 9 different skills he could use, as opposed to only using a total of 6. Now, of course, we will have a more in-depth guide on the sorcerer, so you guys are make sure you guys keep it locked on the channel. But now with that being said, guys, let's dive in and talk about the rogue. No RPG lineup is complete without the dexterity class that's defeating enemies with finesse and speed. We kept coming back to the idea of bringing it to the godfather of all dexterity-based archetypes, the rogue that we saw in Diablo 1. Yes, guys, the rogue is back once again, and this time around, she has a total of 2 tricks up her arsenal. Remember in the beginning when I said that there was a specific class that actually had 2 traits and 2 different abilities than the other classes, where the rogue is that specific class. Let's jump in and talk about the first one, which is called class specification. Now, what exactly is class specification? Now, before we talk about what they are, let's talk about how you will be able to get them. You're able to learn any of these particular specializations by completing a questline via the following rogue groups found around Sanctuary: Mercenaries of Kazakhstan, Outlaw Smugglers of Hogwarts, and Sisterhood of the Slight Eyes. Completing all these 3 will unlock all of these specializations, or completing one of them will unlock one in specific. As of right now, we don't know which one unlocks which, but as soon as we get that information, of course, we will let you guys know. Now let's break them down and talk about what they are. So combo points. Combo points is a specialization that allows the rogue to build up to 3 combo points during consecutive regular attacks. So this is like building a combo meter from other games that you played. Once you accumulate these combo points, you then can spend them on the rogue's skills, which will dramatically increase the skill effects. Now you'll be able to see how many combo points you have active, because these combo points will actually pop on top of the UI bar with little yellow icons notifying you how many combo points you actually have. The flavor text says your basic attack now adds combo points. Certain skills consume combo points for additional effects. The next one is exploit weakness. This is actually pretty cool and one of the most effective specializations. Now, the thing with this one, guys, I feel like this one's going to be very difficult to manage, because you have to be a very skilled player to actually notice when to actually practice. The reason being is because you are only going to be able to exploit a specific weakness when this particular red icon appears above the head of an enemy player. This will then allow the rogue player to initiate the exploit weakness mechanic. Now you'll have a time window to actually execute this particular ability, but once you execute this ability, all your attacks will become critical strikes. The flavor text says you can exploit the weakness in certain enemy attacks. All hits against these enemies become critical strikes and deal 60% increased damage. So once again, a very effective one, but you got to be keen to actually see when that red icon pops on top of the enemy to be able to exploit this and give this the maximum amount of benefit for this particular specialization. The next and final specialization is called Shadow Realm. Now, Shadow Realm gives the rogue character the ability of becoming immune to all attacks for 1 second. What it does, it pulls by all any nearby enemies into the Shadow Realm for 5 seconds. Within the Shadow Realm, the landscape will turn dark, as you see here right here in the video, and the rogue player will be able to deal 50% more damage to the enemies within that Shadow Realm. Now remember, you do become stealth and immune for that amount of period. The flavor text says, become immune for 1 second and pull target enemies into the Shadow Realm with you for 5 seconds. In Shadow Realm, you'll become stealth unstoppable, and deal 50% more damage to affected enemies. This is actually going to be a very interesting skill and specialization to actually test out, see how effective it is against bosses, against elites, and against mobs, to see what is the best ability to actually use the Shadow Realm, or how to use the Shadow Realm ability. Now, on top of those specializations, she also has a thing called Weapon Imbue System. This particular Weapon Imbue System, what it does, it allows rogues to be able to apply Frost, Poison, and Shadow to a specific skill. The skill will behave differently based on the imbue selected. This makes the rogue very dynamic, very versatile, because there are going to be multiple builds for this particular character. Let's talk about what these imbue systems do. So for example, the Frost Imbue, it allows you to apply the Chill Eyes effect. What it does is whenever you use a skill, for example, let's say use the Arrow Barrage skill, it's going to infuse those arrows and make them ice arrows. And when it hits a monster, it's going to slow them. The more that they get hit by these arrows, the more slowed they're going to be. Now, if you decide to go poison, you're going to be able to attack enemies with these poison arrows. And when these enemies are hit with these poison arrows, they're going to lose health over time, eventually dissolving into a pile of acid goo. Now, the last ones are these Shadow Imbues, and these are actually pretty interesting because what these are going to do is that they are going to attack the enemy with the Shadow effect. What that's going to do is when the enemy is killed, it's going to actually explode and cause an AoE damage effect, allowing you to kill multiple enemies around them once we're tagged with this Shadow Imbue. Now, of course, we will have a more in-depth guide on the Rogue, and now to take a look at the last character, the Druid character, and see what his special abilities are. Now, unfortunately, guys, for the Druid, we don't know what his unique ability is, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be revealed very soon as the alpha is taking place. But we do think that it's going to be some sort of mechanic that has to do with his transformation ability that allows him to transform into different animals and different types. So as soon as we get that information, we'll definitely keep you guys posted. Now, speaking of information, guys, I highly recommend you guys check out this video that's popping up right now on the screen, which goes over the open world of Diablo 4 and everything you need to know and what you can expect when the beta or the alpha actually gets ready for us, which we should be getting some information very soon. If you guys are enjoying our Diablo 4 coverage, make sure you guys drop a comment, drop a like, but most importantly, subscribe to the channel, turn on all your notifications, and if you want to show a little bit more love and support, hit that join button down below and become part of the family. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.